The rain wouldn't stop. It had been falling since morning, turning the roads to mud and the air to ice. But Raju didn't feel the cold anymore. His clothes were soaked, his feet were bare, and his body shook under the small flyover where he had taken shelter. He hugged his knees tightly and stared at the streetlights, blinking through the downpour. Each drop felt heavier than the last, like the sky itself was crying along with him. He had nowhere to go, no one to run to, no one even looking for him. The last time he was home, his stepmother had thrown a steel plate at him. The food had spilled on the floor. "You useless dog," she screamed. "Go eat from the garbage, where you belong." His father didn't say anything. He never did. He just sat with his glass of cheap liquor and watched Raju get smaller with each insult. That night, Raju had left. No bag, no shoes, just a biscuit packet he'd stolen from the kitchen, and a broken hope that someone, somewhere might care. Now, 3 days later, he was sitting beneath a broken bridge with an empty stomach and a mind full of questions. Why was he born at all? Why didn't his mother live longer? Would it have made a difference? His fingers rubbed the mud on the ground as if he could erase everything, but nothing changed. Then, suddenly, a soft noise broke through the rain. A small bark. Raju looked up. At the edge of the road stood a thin, muddy dog, its fur matted, one ear torn, eyes cautious but curious. It took a step forward, then another, nose twitching in the wind. Raju said nothing. He had seen stray dogs before. Some were friendly, some bit, but this one looked as lonely as him. The dog came closer, sniffed Raju's bare foot, then sat down beside him, curling its body tightly. Raju stared. "You're not scared of me?" he asked. The dog didn't move, just let out a quiet sigh and rested its head on the boy's knee. Something broke inside Raju in that moment. He hadn't spoken to anyone in 2 days, hadn't felt warmth in even longer. His fingers hesitantly touched the dog's back. It was wet and cold, but alive. "Real," he whispered. "You're the only one who didn't leave me." That night, they slept together under the bridge. The rain slowed. The world quieted. Raju named the dog Sharu, after a character he remembered from a cartoon he once watched at a neighbor's house. "You're braver than me," he told Sharu. "You came closer when everyone else runs away." The next morning, Raju woke too. Find Sharu gone. Panic rose in his chest. He stood up quickly, scanning the street. A group of boys passed by, laughing, throwing stones at a crow. None of them noticed him. Then he heard a soft whine. He followed the sound and found Sharu digging through a garbage pile near the alley. The dog turned and barked once when he saw Raju, then returned to sniffing. Raju walked over, crouched beside him, and pulled out a half-eaten samosa. "This okay?" he asked. Sharu wagged his tail. They ate together, not speaking, just surviving. For the next few days, the street became their home. Raju learned which shops left food outside, which watchmen looked the other way, and which signals were kind to flower sellers. He didn't sell flowers, not yet. He just watched the others do it. Kids like him, barefoot and loud, running to car windows with roses and hope. He wasn't ready, not yet. He and Sharu returned to the flyover each night. They lay close, sharing warmth and silence. One evening, as they were settling down, a loud noise startled them. A man ran past, chased by 2 constables. The man dropped something. Raju crawled toward it. It was a black wallet, heavy. He opened it slowly. Notes, so many notes. He had never seen so much money in his life. Sharu barked softly, sniffing the leather. Raju held it tightly, unsure. He looked at Sharu. "We could eat for days," he whispered. "Buy a blanket, maybe even shoes." But something gnawed at his chest. He took out the ID card from the wallet. A man in a suit stared back at him. Name Rajiv Mehra, address printed clearly. Office logo 2. The next morning, with Sharu trotting beside him, Raju walked to the tall building where the address led. Glass walls, guards in uniform, cars shining like new coins. He was sure they wouldn't let him in. But when he showed the ID to the guard, a receptionist was called, then a secretary. Finally, he stood in front of the same man from the photo. "Mr. Rajiv Mehra, you found this?" the man asked, surprised. "Where?" "Near Dadar flyover," Raju said quietly. "Someone dropped it. I didn't take anything. Promise." Rajiv opened the wallet, checked the cash. All there. He looked at Raju again. "You don't look like you have much yourself." Raju shrugged. "Doesn't mean I should steal." There was a silence. Then Rajiv stood and offered him a sandwich from his desk. "Eat," he said. "You've done more than most adults would." Raju hesitated, then took the sandwich and sat on the edge of the chair. Sharu lay at his feet, eyes half closed out. As Raju ate, Rajiv asked questions. "Where do you live? What do you do? Do you go to school?" Raju answered softly, avoiding too much detail. Rajiv listened, nodded, then finally said, "I can't take you in, boy. I have my own family, but I can give you some food and some money." Raju shook his head. "I don't want money. I just wanted to return what's yours." Rajiv stared at him, surprised again, then said, "Okay, wait here." He returned with a small lunchbox and a packet of biscuits. "For the dog," he said. Raju smiled. "Thank you, sir." He turned to leave, Sharu wagging behind him, but just as they reached the corner of the street, Sharu stopped. His ears perked. Then came a loud screech of tires. A car, Fast. Then silence. Raju turned back, and Sharu was gone. Raju stood frozen in the middle of the road, eyes wide, heart racing. People were yelling, horns blaring, but he heard none of it. All he could see was the empty stretch where had been just seconds ago. A sharp chill ran down his spine as he dropped the lunchbox and ran forward, scanning the roadside like a madman. His feet splashed through dirty puddles. "Sharu!" he shouted, again and again. "Sharu!" And then he saw it just beyond a rusted railing, lying near a pile of torn garbage bags, Sharu's limp body, blood near his leg, one paw twisted. "Unnaturally, no," Raju whispered, falling to his knees. "Please, wake up," Sharu whimpered faintly. His eyes fluttered open, just barely. He was alive but hurt, badly. Raju cupped the dog's head and stroked the matted fur. "Don't leave me," he begged. "You're all I have." The crowd around him began to thin. No one offered help. One man walked by and said, "It's just a stray, let it die." Raju wanted to scream. Instead, he lifted Sharu slowly, cradling him like a baby. The dog whimpered again, but didn't resist. Raju began walking, he didn't know where, but he had to find someone, anyone, who could save his friend. He reached the market after half an hour of dragging his tired feet, asking every shopkeeper and tea vendor if they knew of a vet. Ignored him. One chawala finally pointed toward a narrow alley behind the pharmacy, old clinic. "The doctor sometimes treats animals too, might help." Raju followed the directions and came across a small, fading sign that read, "Dr. Javeri People and Pets." The glass door creaked as he pushed it open. A tall man in his 60s looked up from a rusted desk. "What is this?" he asked sharply. Raju didn't waste a second. "Please, uncle, my dog, he's dying. He was hit by a car." Dr. Javeri stood up and walked over, inspecting Sharu gently. "It's bad, his leg is fractured. Some bleeding too. He needs stitches. Maybe more." Rayu's voice cracked. "Can you save him?" "I can try," the man said. "But treatment costs money, son." Rayu's heart dropped. I don't have any, just these." He emptied his pockets, 3 coins, 2 biscuits from the lunchbox, and a broken keychain. Dr. Javeri looked at the small pile, then back at the dog. He sighed. "Fine. Leave the payment for now. But if I find out you're lying to me, I'll never treat another street animal again." Tears welled up in Rayu's eyes. "I swear I'll pay you someday, even if it takes my whole life." The doctor nodded once, then carefully placed Sharu on a table and began working. Raju sat silently in a corner, hands clenched, praying in his head, even though he didn't know how. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the doctor wiped his hands and looked at him. "He'll live, but he won't walk properly for a few weeks, maybe more." Relief flooded through Raju like sunlight. "Thank you, uncle, thank you. Come back tomorrow," the doctor said. "I'll keep him here overnight. You look like you haven't eaten in days." Raju nodded but didn't move. "Can I stay, just until he sleeps?" The doctor didn't respond. He simply walked back to his desk and sat down. That was permission enough. Raju curled up beside the metal table, watching Sharu's chest rise and fall. He closed his eyes for a few moments and didn't realize when sleep took him. The next morning, Raju was woken by the smell of parathas. Dr. Javeri had left a plate near him with a note. "Eat, then leave." Raju smiled faintly and finished every bite before thanking the doctor again. He promised to return in the evening to check on Sharu. Now, he needed money. He walked back to the market where the flower-selling boys worked the traffic signals. He approached them slowly. "Can I join you?" he asked. A tall boy named Pintu looked him up and down. You look like you'd drop a flower in the gutter before even reaching the car window." "I need to save someone," Raju said. "Please." Another boy, thinner with kind eyes, handed him a bundle of red roses. "Start with these. Just don't mess it up." Raju stood at the edge of the signal, heart pounding. As the red light hit, he ran up to the nearest car and knocked gently on the window. The man inside ignored him. Raju had no idea someone was watching him. He was too focused on counting the crumpled notes in his hand. 45 rupees today. Not much, but more than yesterday. He tucked the coins into his old socks and jogged toward the clinic, his slippers slapping against the uneven road. Every step hurt, but he didn't care. Sharu was getting better. That's all that mattered. But when he entered the dim little clinic, Sharu's ears perked up immediately. He let out a soft bark and tried to stand, but his leg wobbled. No, Raju said gently, rushing over. "You're still healing. Don't try to be a hero." He sat down beside the metal table and laid his head against Sharu's warm fur. "We'll get through this together." Dr. Javeri entered, wiping his hands. "He's healing faster than I expected," he said, "but he'll need medicine for at least 2 weeks, and proper food, and someone to keep his wounds clean." Raju nodded, his throat tight. "How much?" "For everything." "About 700 rupees." Raju didn't flinch. He just said, "I'll earn it." That night, Raju didn't go back to the flyover. He slept outside the clinic on a bench, curled up under a plastic bag he had found behind a grocery store. The wind bit his skin, and his stomach screamed from hunger, but he forced his eyes shut. If he was tired, he wouldn't sell well in the morning. The next few days passed in a blur of red lights, angry drivers, and sunburnt traffic. Raju learned to read faces, who would stop, who would ignore, and who might shout. Some kids laughed at him, others gave him food. One man cursed him for scratching his car, but Raju kept going. In the evenings, he took half his earnings to the clinic. Dr. Javeri never said much, just took the money silently and nodded. But things were changing. One evening, when Raju came to check on Sharu, he found a stranger sitting in the clinic, man in a dark blue suit, with polished shoes and eyes that seemed to notice everything. Dr. Javeri introduced them, without looking up. "This is Mr. Vikram Mehta," he said. "He's the one who asked about you." Raju blinked. "Why?" Vikram stood slowly, towering over him. "Because I saw you at the signal, every day. You remind me of someone I used to know." Raju's fingers tightened. "I'm not begging. I work. I sell flowers." "I know," Vikram said. "That's why I'm here. I run a trust for kids like you. We provide shelter, education, and medical help for free." Raju said nothing. He had heard of such offers before. Most led to crowded homes, stale food, and worse. "I'm fine," he muttered. "I have Sharu. I'm earning. I don't need anyone." Vikram didn't push. "All right," he said, handing Raju a card. "If you change your mind, come here." And just like that, he walked out. Later that night, Raju showed the card to Dr. Javeri. "Can people like him be trusted?" The doctor shrugged. "Maybe, maybe not. But he gave you his name. That's already more than most." The next week was harder. Fewer cars stopped. One day, someone threw hot tea on Raju by mistake. He screamed in pain. His arms scalded. Another day, a gang of older boys stole his flowers and chased him down an alley. He barely escaped. He limped into the clinic, bruised and broken. Dr. Javeri sat him down. "You can't keep living like this," he said sternly. "You'll get yourself killed, and Sharu needs you." Raju bit his lip. "I don't know where else to go." Sharu, now able to stand properly, limped over and licked Raju's burnt arm. That gesture broke something in him. He looked down at the business card in his pocket. Maybe it was time. The next morning, Raju took a deep breath and walked into the tall, painted gate of the Vikram Mehta Foundation. A clean courtyard, tidy rooms, rows of beds. Children played with plastic toys while soft music played from a small speaker. A woman in a sari smiled and offered him water. "You're Raju?" she asked. "Mr. Mehta told us to expect you." Vikram met him inside his office. "I'm glad you came," he said warmly. "This isn't a trap, Raju. You're not being locked up. Stay if it feels right. Leave if it doesn't." "And Sharu?" Raju asked. "He comes to." Vikram smiled. "He's already famous in our staff group chat." That night, Raju and Sharu had their first proper meal in weeks: dal rice and soft roti. They slept in a small but clean room, with a fan that worked. Raju stared at the ceiling in disbelief. No shouting, no insults, no hunger, just peace. The next morning, he was enrolled in school. A uniform was stitched. Books were given. Raju touched them like they were made of gold. He didn't know how to read everything yet, but he would learn. He promised himself he would. Vikram checked on him daily. Always gentle, never demanding. "You have talent, Raju," he said once, after seeing a pencil sketch of Sharu. "If you work hard, you could be an artist, or a writer, or both." Raju smiled faintly. He still didn't know if dreams were meant for kids like him, but for the first time, someone believed he could have one. A week passed in quiet progress. Raju was doing well. His wounds were healing. Sharu followed him to class and waited patiently by the door. The other children had started calling him Captain Sharu, but peace never lasted long in Raju's world. One afternoon, as he was returning from school with Sharu, they passed a tea stall. The man behind it stared too long, then picked up his phone. Raju didn't think much of it until the police showed up that evening at the foundation's gate. One officer stepped forward, holding a photo. "Is this boy staying here?" he asked the staff. "We have orders to return him to his legal guardian." His stepmother filed a complaint. "She says he's been kidnapped." Raju stood frozen at the stairs, heart racing. She had found him. Raju's feet refused to move. His throat dried up as the officer showed his photo to the staff again, this time more firmly. "We're not here to argue," the officer said. "His guardian has filed an FIR. If you're hiding him, that's illegal." The staff lady looked at Raju, who now stood trembling behind the stairs, clutching Sharu's collar like a lifeline. Vikram Mehta appeared just then, calm but serious. "He's not hiding," Vikram said. "He came to us on his own. He's been on the streets, abandoned and abused." The officer didn't blink. "Doesn't matter. Until proven in court, custody lies with the legal guardian." Raju's heart sank. Sharu whimpered at his side. Memories of his stepmother's hand striking his face, her screams echoing in the small house. His father's silence all returned like shadows. "I'm not going back," Raju said suddenly, loud. Everyone turned toward him. "She used to beat me, lock me outside. I had no food for days." "That's not a home." The officer looked at Vikram. "If that's true, file a report. But until then, we take him," Sharu growled, sensing the fear in Raju's shaking hands. Vikram gently stepped between them. "Give us 24 hours, he said firmly. "I'll file a petition in court. You'll have the paperwork." After a pause, the officer sighed. "One day, that's all." Then he walked away, leaving behind silence thick as fog. Raju didn't speak. He just sat on the floor and held Sharu close, burying his face in his fur. "They'll take me," he whispered. "I'll lose you again." That night, Vikram didn't go home. He stayed in his office, working through papers, talking to a lawyer on the phone. Raju sat outside his door, watching the light under the frame. At some point he dozed off on the corridor bench with Sharu curled beside him. Morning brought tension. The staff whispered in corners. The cook made his favorite meal dal and jeera rice, but Raju couldn't eat. He sat in the library, clutching the court documents Vikram had filed. "Will the judge believe me?" he asked softly. "Will they listen?" Vikram knelt beside him. "The truth has a voice, Raju. We just have to make sure it's heard." Later that afternoon, they were taken to the small family court. The judge, a stern-looking woman in glasses, asked Raju to come forward. He stood, hands sweating, knees weak. His stepmother sat across the room, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "Why did you leave home?" the judge asked. "Because I wasn't safe there," Raju answered. "She used to hit me, lock me outside. My father didn't stop her, so I ran." The judge looked at his stepmother. "Do you deny this?" "He was a wild boy, Your Honor," she said coldly. "Didn't listen. We tried our best. We never starved him. He's making this up because these people gave him fancy food in school." Raju looked down. How could he prove his pain? The bruises had faded. The hunger couldn't be photographed on then. Vikram stood and handed over the medical report Dr. Javeri had written. "The burns, the injuries, the underweight body. These are not lies," he said. "This is a child who survived and not ran away." The judge took the paper and read silently. For a moment, no one breathed. Then she looked at Raju again. "Do you want to go back?" Raju didn't hesitate. "No, ma'am. I want to live, learn, be something, and I can't do that there." She tapped her pen slowly. "Until full custody can be decided, I grant temporary guardianship to Mr. Meta." Raju's eyes widened. "He will stay under the Foundation's care, under regular supervision." His stepmother stood up abruptly. "You're stealing my child." The judge didn't respond. She just struck the gavel. "Next hearing in 2 months. Court is adjourned." Raju stood frozen, unsure if he heard it right. Vikram gently touched his shoulder. "You're safe, Raju. For now, you're safe." Back at the Foundation, everyone cheered. The kids made cards. One said, "You won." Another said, "Sharu's hero." Raju smiled for the first time in days. That night, he fed Sharu by hand and whispered, "We get to stay. We did it." But the joy was short-lived. 2 days later, while returning from school, Raju found Sharu missing. He searched every corner of the campus, the yard, the dorm. Raju's breath caught in his throat. The man standing before him was tall, scruffy, and his shirt had oil stains. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Sharu. "Nice dog," the man said, stepping closer. "Fast one, too. Nearly bit my hand when I tried to feed him. Took me hours to catch him." Raju clutched Sharu tighter. "He's mine," he said firmly, voice shaking. "He's not going anywhere with you." The man raised an eyebrow and laughed. "Yours. You think you own anything, boy? This city doesn't give anything for free. Found him first. He's mine now," Sharu growled low, sensing the tension. The man took another step forward, hand reaching out. Raju backed away. "Don't touch him," he yelled. "I'll call the police." The man scoffed. "With what? Your voice. Who do you think they'll believe, a street kid or me?" Raju's mind raced. No one would hear him in this broken go-down. No one would come. He had to act fast. He looked around, spotted a long wooden stick leaning against the wall. Without thinking, he grabbed it and pointed it at the man. "Go away," he said. "I swear I'll hit you." The man hesitated, surprised at Raju's boldness. Then he laughed again. All right. Keep your mouth. Not worth getting scratched over." He turned away, walking toward the back door. But just before leaving, he muttered, "Not everything in this city is yours, kid. Watch your back." As soon as the man was gone, Raju dropped the stick and collapsed beside Sharu, heart pounding. He held the dog close, whispering, "I've got you. I won't let anyone take you again." Sharu licked his face, his tail wagging gently. It took them 2 hours to walk back to the Foundation. When they finally arrived, the sun had dipped below the skyline. Vikram was waiting at the gate, eyes filled with relief and worry. "You found him," he exclaimed. Raju nodded weakly. "Some man tried to take him. I think he wanted to sell him." Vikram's face hardened. "We'll report it. No one touches anyone from here, ever." That night Raju and Sharu were given extra blankets. The staff brought warm milk and fresh rotis. But Raju couldn't stop shaking. Not from the cold, but from fear. He realized something deeper that night. Safety was not a place. It was a battle. And if he didn't fight for it, he'd lose everything. Over the next few days, Raju refused to let Sharu out of his sight. He took him to class, 2 meals, even to the toilet. Sharu followed happily, his limp healing slowly. One afternoon, the art teacher noticed Raju sketching Sharu in his notebook. "That's beautiful," she said. "You have real talent." Raju smiled shyly. "I just draw what I love." She took the drawing and showed it to Vikram. He studied it closely, then looked at Raju. What if we help you prepare for the children's art scholarship? He asked. It's a small competition, but the winner gets a seat at the best art school in the city. Raju's eyes widened. Me? Really? Vikram nodded. Really? For the first time, Raju began to believe he could become more than just a street boy. Every day after school, he practiced drawing trees, animals, faces, but Sharu remained his favorite subject. He captured every expression, every movement, every emotion. Weeks passed, Sharu's leg healed. The foundation became home. Raju had friends now, a bed, a goal. And every morning he whispered to Sharu, "We're not who we were." But trouble had a way of finding him. One afternoon while returning from the market, with two boys, Raju saw a familiar man leaning against a fruit cart. It was the same one from the godown, the one who tried to take Sharu. Their eyes met. The man grinned. "Found you again?" he said under his breath. Raju grabbed his friends and ran. They returned breathless, terrified. Vikram called the police immediately and filed a complaint. But the fear didn't leave Raju that night. He sat on the floor, arms around Sharu. "What if they come again?" he whispered. "What if we're not safe here either?" Vikram entered the room quietly and sat beside him. "Raju," he said gently, "I've contacted a shelter that partners with us. They have tighter security guards, even cameras. It's smaller, but safer. You and Sharu can stay there until things calm down." Raju thought for a moment, then nodded. "I'll go, but only if I can keep drawing. Only if Sharu comes with me." "Both non-negotiable," Vikram said with a smile. The new shelter was quieter, cleaner, and sat behind tall gates. The staff welcomed them warmly. Sharu quickly became everyone's favorite, playing with kids, guarding the door, and sleeping at Ryu's feet. Ryu settled in fast. He had a corner to draw, meals on time, and more privacy. Days passed in peace. One evening, the shelter manager walked in with an envelope. "A letter for you," he said, handing it to Raju. Raju opened it slowly. It was from Vikram. "Dear Raju, I just got news your artwork was selected for the citywide exhibition next month. The art school head will be attending. It's your biggest chance. I'm proud of you. Keep working, keep believing. Your friend?" Vikram. Raju clutched the letter to his chest, eyes shining. "Did you hear that, Sharu?" he whispered. "This is it. This is our moment." But Sharu didn't wag his tail. He was lying still. Too still. Ryu's heart skipped. "Sharu," he said, nudging him. The dog didn't move. Panic gripped him. "Sharu," he screamed. "Wake up." The staff rushed in. Raju held his best friend in his arms, tears flooding his cheeks. And then Sharu stirred. He coughed, then blinked. Alive, but very weak. The manager knelt beside them. "He's sick," he said quietly. "Old wounds. Maybe something inside. We need to take him to the vet now." Raju stood up, holding Sharu tightly. "We're not losing him," he whispered. But as they rushed into the van and sped toward the hospital, the sky darkened, and in the shadow of a nearby building, the same man from the godown lit a cigarette and made a call. "I found the boy again," he said. "This time, I won't miss." The clinic smelled like antiseptic and fear. Raju sat in the cold metal chair, clutching his knees, eyes fixed on the door to the examination room. Sharu had been inside for more than an hour. A nurse had come out once to ask about his medical history, and Raju had barely managed to answer through his shaking voice. He kept replaying the moment Sharu went still, his body limp, his breathing faint. He had almost lost him again. The vet, Dr. Farah, finally emerged. She was young, with tired eyes, but a gentle tone. "He's stable for now," she said softly. "There's an internal infection, probably something that never healed properly. He'll need to stay here for at least a few days. We've started antibiotics, but," she paused, "it's serious." Ryu's lips trembled. "Will he live?" Dr. Farah knelt in front of him. "He's a fighter, but he needs rest, care, and time. And he needs you to be strong." He nodded. "Can I sit with him?" She smiled. "Of course." Inside the small ward, Sharu lay on a clean towel, an IV drip taped to his paw. His eyes opened as Raju entered, a soft wag of the tail. "Hey buddy," Raju whispered, kneeling beside him. "Don't scare me like that again, okay?" He placed his hand gently on Sharu's head. "You're not allowed to leave. Not until you see my drawing in that exhibition." Sharu blinked slowly, then closed his eyes. That night, Raju stayed by his side. He didn't sleep, didn't eat, just sat there sketching Sharu's peaceful face over and over, using the clinic's borrowed pencil and his last page. By morning, he had filled the paper with soft, stroke-size, nose, scars, and soul. "This," he whispered, "is the one I'll submit." Back at the shelter, the manager visited with breakfast and good news. "Your exhibition slot is confirmed. Next Friday, they'll display your piece in the front row." Vikram Sir pulled some strings. Ryu smiled weakly. "Sharu has to get better before that." The manager nodded. "He will, and so will you." But while hope was blooming inside, something darker was lurking outside. The man who had been following Ryu, not just any thug, he was part of a street racket that stole and sold dogs to illegal breeders. Sharu, with his loyalty and unusual bond, had become a prize, and Raju, with his growing attention, was a problem. Pintu had been watching, waiting, and now, with Sharu locked in a clinic, the boy was vulnerable again. The following evening, as Raju walked back from the clinic with his sketchpad tucked under his arm, a motorcycle sped past him on the narrow street. He didn't think much until he heard the sharp voice behind him. "Stop right there, kid." Raju turned. "Pintu." He stood a few feet away with two other men, both bigger and meaner looking than before. One cracked his knuckles, the other held a chain leash. "You thought you could hide?" Pintu growled. "You took my dog." "He's not yours," Raju said bravely, stepping back. "He's mine. He saved me." The men began walking toward him. "Listen here," Hero Pintu hissed. "You've made too much noise. Posters, police, newspapers. You think the streets don't talk? I could have sold that dog for 5,000. Pure loyalty like that is rare." Rayu's fists clenched. "I'll scream, then we'll shut you up before you open your mouth." Suddenly, tires screeched. A black van pulled up to the roadside. Vikram jumped out. "Raju," he shouted, "get in." Without wasting a second, Raju sprinted. One of the men lunged but missed. He jumped into the van and slammed the door just as Vikram hit the gas. The van sped down the lane, leaving behind dust, curses, and furious eyes. Inside, Raju collapsed into Vikram's arms, gasping. "They followed me." "I know," Vikram said, voice tight with anger. "We got a tip. One of our staff saw them hanging near the shelter gate. I had to come myself." Raju trembled. He said, "He wanted to sell Sharu." Vikram didn't reply. His jaw was locked, knuckles wide on the steering wheel. Back at the foundation, the police were waiting. The room fell silent. Pintu stood in the entrance of the gallery, holding a thick iron rod in one hand. His shirt was torn, his face sweaty, wild. His eyes burned with rage as they locked onto Raju, who stood frozen next to his framed artwork. The chief guest backed away. Guests whispered in confusion. Sharu, who had been calmly sitting near Rayu's feet, growled low, fur rising along his spine. "You thought you could humiliate me?" Pintu shouted. "With your drawings and police reports, you think people like you get to win." Rayu's chest tightened, his hands trembled, but he didn't move. "Not this time. Not again. I told you," Pintu continued, stepping closer. "That dog is mine, and you don't belong here." Vikram stepped in front of Raju, his voice calm but firm. "You need to leave now. This is a public event. The police have your record." Pintu laughed a cold, bitter sound. "Police? They come late. They always come late." He looked past Vikram directly at Raju. "Come here, boy. Bring the mutt." Sharu growled louder now. Standing protectively in front of Raju, Raju reached down and placed a hand on Sharu's back, steadying him. "No," he said. "Just one word, but strong, clear. You don't get to control me anymore." People around began recording on their phones. The staff called security. A few guards rushed toward the entrance, but Pintu swung the rod wildly. "Don't touch me," he shouted. "One step closer and I break everything here." Raju took a deep breath and stepped forward. "You're angry because I walked away?" he said, voice louder now. "Because I didn't let you steal the only good thing in my life. But you can't take him. Not anymore." Pintu's grip on the rod tightened. His lips curled. "You think words will stop me?" He raised the rod high, but before he could swing it, a loud bark rang through the gallery. Sharu lunged. The rod fell from Pintu's hand with a loud clang as Sharu's jaws clamped around his wrist. Pintu screamed and fell to the ground, trying to shake the dog off. Within seconds, security rushed in and tackled him. Sharu released him and backed away, standing by Rayu's side again. The police arrived minutes later, thanks to Vikram's earlier warning. They handcuffed Pintu and dragged him out of the gallery, past a sea of flashing cameras and murmuring. "Guests, this isn't over," he shouted. "You'll regret this." But Raju didn't flinch. He turned to Sharu and whispered, "We did it." The exhibition resumed after a short delay. The chief guest, a famous artist named Mr. Sinha, approached Raju personally. "You showed more courage than most adults I know," he said. "And this drawing," he pointed to the framed piece, titled "The Friend Who Stayed. It speaks louder than anything I've seen today." Raju smiled shyly. "It's about Sharu. He was there when no one else was." Mr. Sinha nodded. "This belongs in our national exhibit. I'd like to buy it." Raju blinked. "Buy it?" "Yes," Mr. Sinha said. "I'll pay you 10,000 rupees. But more than that, I'd like to invite you to our junior artist mentorship program." Gasps rippled through the audience. Vikram placed a hand on Rayu's shoulder. "Say yes," he whispered. Raju nodded slowly. "Yes, yes, I'd love that." The crowd clapped. Reporters gathered. Someone from the local news asked for an interview. "Tell us, Raju," she said. "What message do you want to give children like you, those who live on the streets, those who think they have no future?" Raju looked straight into the camera. "You're not alone. Even if the world leaves you behind, even if you have no one, just believe. Someone out there will stay, even if it's a dog." Tears filled many eyes in the room. Later that night, back at the shelter, Raju sat with Sharu on the rooftop. The stars were out. The city below buzzed as always, but something had shifted inside him. I used to think this world had no place for people like me, he whispered, running a hand through Sharu's fur. But maybe it does. Sharu rested his head on Ryu's lap, tail wagging gently. Vikram joined them a few minutes later, carrying 2 cups of warm milk. For the hero and his partner, he said with a smile. Raju accepted the cup with a grateful nod. Thank you for not giving up on me. You gave me hope too, Vikram replied. Sometimes all it takes is one voice. Yours reached everyone. Raju took a sip and stared at the horizon. There's something I want to do. What is it? Vikram asked. I want to draw kids like me, Raju said. Not just for money, I want people to see their faces, know their stories. The ones no one notices at the red lights, selling flowers, wiping windshields. Vikram smiled. That's a beautiful idea. Raju looked down at Sharu, then back at the stars. But first, he said, we let Sharu rest. And as the city lights flickered below, and the wind played with Ryu's hair, he felt something he had never truly felt before, peace. But just when it seemed like the storm had passed, a phone call came to the shelter office. The officer on the other end said quietly, we have reason to believe Pintu wasn't working alone. Someone's been funding him, and they were looking for more than just a dog. The line crackled. They were looking for the boy. The call shook Vikram to the core. He stayed silent for a moment, phone pressed to his ear, eyes narrowing. What do you mean looking for the boy? He asked. The officer on the other end replied grimly. We traced the phone numbers connected to Pintu, someone with money, influence, not a street thug, someone from the past. It wasn't about the dog, it was about Raju. Vikram's hand tightened around the phone. Why? Who would want to hurt him? We don't know yet, the officer said. But we suggest you keep him inside. No public appearances. At least until we figure this out. That night, Vik didn't sleep. He walked the corridors of the shelter in silence, peeking in on Raju, who was fast asleep with Sharu curled next to him. The boy looked peaceful, unaware that the past wasn't done with him yet. The next morning, Vikram gently woke Raju. I need to talk to you, he said, his tone soft but urgent. Raju sat up, rubbing his eyes. Is Sharu okay? Yes, Vikram nodded. But the police found something. About Pinto. Ryu's smile faded. They think someone paid him to find you, Vikram said. Someone who's been watching, following, maybe even before you came here. Ryu's heart sank. But who? I don't know anyone. Vikram sat beside him. Think hard. Before you lived under the flyover, before you ran away from your stepmother, do you remember anyone, someone who looked at you strangely, followed you? Raju shook his head slowly, then paused. There was a man, tall, wore black glasses. He used to come to our street every month. Gave my stepmother an envelope once. She used to tell me to hide inside when he came. Vikram's eyes sharpened. Did you ever hear his name? Raju frowned, thinking hard. I think she called him Siraj. By once he said he was doing them a favor, but I never knew what it meant. Vikram stood up. That's a start. I'll talk to the police again. For now, I want you to stay inside. All right? No leaving without me. Raju nodded, worry clouding his face. I thought it was over. So did I, Vikram whispered. But the storm had only just begun. That afternoon, 2 men in suits came to the foundation's office. They introduced themselves as child welfare officers. We're here to verify the background of one Raju, one of them said, showing a file. There's a petition to transfer into a government home. Claims that he's been involved in dangerous activities and is not safe here. Vikram's blood boiled. That's a lie. Who filed the petition? The man glanced at the file. A woman named Nirmala Devi, claims to be his Aunt Raju, listening from behind the door, froze. That's not my aunt, he whispered. That's my stepmother's cousin. She never even spoke to me. She hated me. The men insisted on speaking to Raju. Vikram refused at first, but eventually allowed them to sit with him under supervision. Raju, one officer said, fake kindness in his voice. We've found a better place for you. You'll get more privacy, more attention. A big room, wouldn't you like that? Raju stared at him. Will Sharu come? The man hesitated. Dogs aren't allowed there, but you'll make new friends. Raju shook his head. I already have what I need. I'm not going anywhere. The other officer frowned. That's not your choice, boy. We'll be back with orders. They left after half an hour, but their threat remained like poison in the air. Vikram called the lawyer immediately. They're trying to get him out of here. Through fake legal channels, the lawyer sighed. They're moving fast. Someone's pulling strings will counter it, but we need proof. Something from Ryu's past abuse, abandonment, medical reports. The more we have, the harder it'll be for them to take him. Raju stood near the window, hands balled into fists. Why are they after me? He asked softly. I'm no one. No, Vikram said, stepping beside him. You're someone. Now, you spoke up, you were seen. That threatens people. That night, Raju lay awake, listening to Sharu's breathing. Memories flooded back his stepmother, locking the kitchen door. Her voice screaming about money, that man in the black glasses handing over envelopes. Something wasn't right. There was a secret buried in those memories, and he was starting to feel its edges. The next morning, Raju asked to visit the old neighborhood just once. I think I remember something, he said. If we find it, maybe it can help, Vikram agreed, but only with police escort. They returned to the alley behind the stepmother's house. It was now locked and dusty. But Raju walked straight to the back, near an old wooden cabinet. He pointed, there's a box under the floorboard. One of the officers pried it open.